Well, well, well. It's Tuesday, I think. And today, we're not playing a game. No, no. I'm working on my game. Well, it's not really a game, but it will be. It will be a game. I've been trying to decide what to do with my year off. I'm already a month into it. So, I said I was going to give myself 1 month of dicking about and then really get my head down and try and accomplish something. So, that's what I've been doing for the past week. I've been trying to accomplish something. And you know what? What I've got is pretty cool. It's not really a game. It's more of a game framework. I'm making all the different parts I would need in order to make a game. That's kind of where I'm at. So, currently, I don't really have much in the way of functionality, but what I do have is pretty cool. Basically, I want to go for like a board game aesthetic, but I'm not going to make a board game, I don't think. I think that'd be pretty lame. But a board game aesthetic could be pretty cool. So, I've been working on making a whole bunch of like generic features for a board game aesthetic. And then I've been building a sandbox to kind of play with them in, make sure it all feels nice. It's pretty good. So, what have I actually got? Let's hit play. I have this little widget, which is my tile palette. Pretty cool. You can select a tile, deselect a tile. Then, if you select a tile, you can place a tile. I know. Pretty groundbreaking stuff. Then, I need to do another one of these little widgets for pieces to go on the board. I haven't got that yet. Maybe that's something we could do tonight. But if I shift click, it'll spawn a piece. You can pick up the piece. You can move the piece. You can move tiles. You can rotate tiles. If I drop a whole bunch of tiles, I'm used to not having to use the palette. It's new. I only added it today. I'm used to just clicking, doing everything I need it to. Need to get used to my own new UI. Then, I can pick up the piece. I can move the piece. I can rotate the piece. This is a multi-tile piece, which was actually a lot more of a pain in the ass to get working than you'd imagine. So, that's pretty much all my game does right now, or my game framework. But it's quite impressive, I think. It's all properly coded. There's no hacky code. There's a little bit of hacky code. Little bit. But not a lot. I've been going full try-hard coding this thing. So, I'm trying to decide what to add next. There's a few things I wanted to do. I wanted to add a board, an actual board, because just placing stuff on this tabletop is pretty lame. It'd be cool to actually have a board on the tabletop. So I want to make that, which I've started on, but not got very far. And then what else did I want to do? I want to make my piece version of this. I could do that. That'd be alright, because for the most part, it's basically doing what I did for my tile palette. Doing like a piece palette. So that could be okay. But pieces are a bit more complicated. Because you got those multi-tile pieces, they make the piece palette a little bit more complicated. So I might have to think quite hard about that one. But I've got it all coded nicely. I've got it fully organized. Separate projects. I've never bothered doing that in Unity. That was step 1. Cuts down compile time. It's very nice. And then, an important thing I've been doing is I've been making it so that anything that's not Unity related, which is all my core functionality, I've got in this core project, which is where most of the game logic will live. In the past, when I've made Unity games, I've just kind of YOLO'd it. So I've just been like, yeah, I'll create a game object, and I'll put the logic on the game object, and it'll be fine. No, not anymore. That's a shitty way to code. So instead, I have my core project, which is where game logic lives. Actual logic. Maybe game logic lives there. What I mean by that is anything that's stateful lives there. So, for example, I've got my board state. My board state is, this is the board, these are all the pieces on the board, and this is, it verifies, like if you're moving from A to B, it verifies that's a valid move. If you're trying to place a piece, it verifies that's a valid place for the piece to go. If you're trying to rotate it, it verifies, can you actually rotate here? All that kind of stuff. So it actually stores the logic of the board. What's placed, where it's placed. That's it. That's all it does. But super important to have that separate. In the past, I would have been like, well, I've got a game object that is the tiles, so I should just have something that tracks those game objects, and then I'll know where everything is. But that's a terrible way to do it. Terrible, terrible way to do it. So instead, I have my board state, which is a very big class, but it's doing quite a lot. It's got a collection of all my different coordinates, which is something I made. Coordinate is, because it's hex-based, coordinate is a hex-based coordinate thing, which is pretty cool. So then my board state is just, okay, what tiles are at what coordinate? But again, for tiles, it's just tile state, right? So tile state is just, I'm this tile, I live on this grid, this is where I am, this is what type of tile I am, and this is what direction I'm facing. So it's like a super basic data object. Nothing to do with Unity whatsoever. You could take that and you could move it out, and you could use it if you wanted to make like a server that stored the board. You could just reuse all this stuff. Hello, Alex. What's up is, I am making a game. But I don't really know what game. I don't really know what game I'm making. So, I'm making a lot of very useful things that will be useful whatever game I make. All I know so far is it's going to have a board, but that board could mean anything. And the board is going to be made up of tiles and pieces. But my first thought is to make like a Heroes of Might and Magic style game. I think that might be pretty cool with a board game aesthetic. I think that could be pretty neat. if I do make that game, I've got big plans for it. But I'll probably make some prototype games using the framework that I've made first, just to kind of get a feel for it. Make Crusader Kings 4. I could make a Crusader Kings-esque game. There's nothing stopping me. But I think I want to make a Heroes of Might and Magic style game. I think. Maybe. I really haven't decided at all what I'm going to make. I've just made a lot of frameworky stuff. Look. This is all I've got so far. Now, it is pretty cool. But it's not a game. It's a framework for a game. This is just a sandbox I'm making to test it out. How's the map generated? How do you mean? So there is no map currently. It's all just based on what you do. But you could have a map generator that spawns the tiles and generates a map. That's kind of what I want to do. I want to make it super generic. The only thing I'm sure about is the tile placement. Is it seed-based or fixed? It's where you click. So I'm placing the tiles. Currently. You know? It's just a little sandbox for me to build up a board. In a game, depending on what your map was, you would have some way of generating the map. And then that would spawn the tiles to represent the map. And then it would spawn the pieces on top of it to represent points of interest or stuff like that. Trees, maybe. You know? This is just for me to play about with it and make sure the underlying board works correctly. It's pretty cool, though. It's pretty cool. It's a good starting point, I think. It gives me a lot of freedom, whatever game I want to make. Looks RimWorld-esque. Oh, like the world view. Yeah, I could see that. Is that just because the RimWorld worldview is hexes? If so, I agree. They are indeed both hexes. Basically, I started off by thinking, I want to make a game. I don't want to do any animation. Animation is a pain in the arse and very restrictive when it comes to my skill set. Therefore, whatever game I make, it's going to be board game styled, because then I don't need animations, and it can still look thematically good, you know? So that was my initial jumping in point. Then it was, okay, well, if whatever game I make is going to have a board game aesthetic, I should probably make a board. So I did all that. Then I was like, I need a way to place pieces on the board. So I did that. And that's kind of where I'm at. Which doesn't sound like a lot for a week's worth of dev. But you got no idea just how well this is coded. Oh, this is like god tier coding. It's all so simple. It's such a simple system. It's a crazy simple system. Like, check this out. I hope this works. If I want to make another type of tile to go on here, on my little tile selector with the stuff. I guess first I need to add a third slot on my palette. That's no big deal. Let's just put that there. Hook it up to say, oh, by the way, this is slot 3. Oh, right. Hook that shiz up. I need to add another element. Hook that shiz up. Hook slot 3 up. There we go. So now that can support 3 different tile types. Once I've got more than 3, I need to decide what I'm going to do. Probably have pagination of some sort. But for now it's fine. Then, all I need to do to get that to work is... So I've got these tile definitions. I've got my default tile definition, which is just the ones that look like wood. Then I've got my grass tile definition, which is obviously the grass ones. So if I clone the grass definition, and we call this something tile definition until we pick a material, we can go into the collection of materials that I've got, which I'm just going to steal from Cinti for now. We can just grab one. How about these bricks? So let's call it the brick tile definition. Then we do need to add a new tile type. This is the only bit that you have to actually go into the code for, which is annoying, but if we add brick there, I want to make that not require going in there, but enums are so nice. Then in brick tile definition, we can say, oh, by the way, this is a brick. Then we just say, oh, I want brick tiles to be in my tile registry. And when we load this, theoretically, I hope this works. Look, we've got brick tiles. Huh? Pretty cool. And that's all down to how cleanly I've made this entire project. It's super easy to add new tiles, new pieces. It's like super duper easy. So, that's kind of what I'm going for. Like, build up a bunch of stuff so that I can design a game using this. But that is not... The game itself is not necessarily relevant when it comes to making all this functionality. Then once I've got all this functionality sorted, I can decide what game I want to build and have another layer on top of this layer. So this is the framework layer. Then on top of it, we'll use the framework to make a game. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. But I'm pretty happy with it. Like, I've got good separation of concerns. I've got very well-written code, if I do say so myself. The view is separate from the game state. I've got an event system hooked up. I built my own little animation system for these simple animations, like when I move a piece. I built a little animation system for that, which works really nicely. It basically queues up different animations that the view passes towards a tile. And then it plays them out one by one. And they can be blocking or non-blocking. So it's pretty sweet. So, what are we doing with it tonight? There's a few options. I was going through the code before Alex distracted me, kind of summarizing it. But actually, I'm gonna commit that brick change because it's super simple. Added brick tile type. I don't think I'll ever use that brick tile type, but it's good to have 3 for testing, eh? Ideally, we need 4 for testing so that we can see what happens when there's more tile types than available places on the palette. Well, I know what will happen. It'll throw up a warning, and the game will cleanly complain. But I mean, like, conceptually in the future, once we've got 4 different pieces. At that point, I think my plan is to turn this shelf into, like, a favorites shelf, maybe? And then have another place where you can access them all. And then be able to move one to the favorites shelf. That's probably the cleanest way. I'm not sure how that will work for automated stuff. Something I need to think about. That's like the one thing I'm not sure about. I've made very good human input stuff. So when a person does something, I know how it's going to work. But when the computer does something, for now it'd work. Like if there was some automated process that was dropping tiles down, for now it would work. It'd be like, okay, cool. And it'd just do it and it'd all be animated and it'd look cool. That'd be fine. But once you start getting into like stuff like having a favorites shelf, I don't know how it'd work. So, need to think about that. I'm trying to make all my menu stuff be in-world. I like that thematically. So I don't want a UI layer unless I really have to. Unless I really, really have to. I really don't want a UI layer. I think a UI layer would really set me back. I think it's far cooler if it's all in-world, as long as I can come up with a cool way to actually do it. Like this, right? This would normally be some UI layer, and you'd have a bar along the bottom, and you'd click, and it'd bring up your 3 tile types, and then you'd click in world, and they'd appear. I don't really want to do that. I like it all being in world. I think it's pretty neat. But it does raise issues around what happens when something happens that the user isn't doing. But you know, problems are there to be solved. So, could be pretty cool. So yeah, there's a few things I wanted to do. I wanted to make a version of this for pieces, because I do have 3 different figurines made. I've got my bridge, which is the one that we can currently spawn. We've got the cannon. And we've got the king. But, there's going to be a lot more, obviously. So I want to make another shelf like this that has the various figurines on it. And in a similar way, you can place a figurine on a tile. Problem with that, and it is a problem, is for a piece, it's quite easy, right? You can... For a tile, it's quite easy because they're all the same size. So you just go, okay, any tile can go here, any tile can go here, any tile can go here. But for pieces, that's where it gets iffy. Because, like, the king and the cannon are both 1 tile pieces. But then the bridge is a 3 tile piece. So coming up with a nice way of having those options on a shelf, it's a bit trickier because they're not uniform in base. Their base is not uniform. So that's going to require some thought. That's okay though. So Yeah, well, we could make a version of it that just supports one tile pieces for now. That'd be pretty good. And then for 3 tile pieces, I don't know. I don't know how I'll solve that problem. That's one that's going to require a lot of thought. But yeah, let's do that. Let's make a little palette for 1 tile pieces. And that will hopefully be pretty cool. First though, in other, I want to put my tile palette in there because I'm actually happy with it now. I think it's working as well as I need it to. The only thing I'd change about it is when you spawn multiple copies of the same palette, they kind of overlap for a sec, but it's not a huge deal. You could solve that by just having a delay on the animation, or speed up the animation and have a delay. That's probably what you'd do. You'd speed up the animation and have a delay on subsequent placings. You'd have like a queue, and you'd read off the queue every half a second or something. But I'm happy with tile palette. My selection context, I actually need to prefabify. It's very important. Then that's everything prefabified, so that's cool. So for pieces, what would a piece holder look like? It could just look like this. I mean, you know, this is very piece-esque. It could just be another one of these with pieces slotted in the tiles. And when you select them, it selects the piece instead of the tile. Maybe. Maybe. That could work. Let's do that, and then it'll be easy to change it in the future if we want. So, we're actually going to copy the tile palette. We're going to duplicate it, and we'll call this the piece palette. And the piece palette does need 3 slots. Alex says, what if the deck had a hole next to the tile and the tiles came out of the hole, like from a box? Oh, that could work. Yeah. So they don't actually spawn from the selected piece. What you're saying is, I think, there would be like a hole over here, maybe hexagonal shaped, or like a gum dispenser. Yeah, something like that. And instead of the piece coming off this, it'd come from a dispenser or whatever. That could work. That'd be really easy to do with my current setup, because my palette so my palette has the various slots, which is fine. But then you would just map the dispenser to each slot, and then it'd all just work. So we could do that. Something like that would be cool, yeah. Like, because I like, what I wanted to do initially was have the pieces do what they do now, except the selected piece would like disappear, so you wouldn't see the selected piece, and then there'd be like a respawn on the selected piece, which you could do, maybe should do, right? So maybe there's a hole underneath each slot. And when you drop a piece, the piece that's there disappears and a new one comes out of the hole and goes back to here. If that makes sense. So under here you'd see like a hole with the top of another piece in it, and then it would rise up. But it'd actually just be this piece again. You'd just teleport it underneath. You could do that. That might be really neat. That might be like really neat. So it looked like they were coming from under this shelf. Which is okay, because I'm planning on making the board be kind of magical anyway. Because otherwise stuff like... you'd have a very limited board space, right? If it wasn't magical. Whereas you're going to want to be able to have a big game world. I don't want to limit the size of the game world. So you're going to have to be able to pan around the game world. And if it's a static board, that doesn't work. So I think it's going to be a magical board, which means it can be a magical piece dispenser. Which means the new pieces could just magically spawn in with some kind of particle effect. Like the piece you've selected flies over there, and then a new one appears to replace the old one. You could do that. Which would be easier, but it might look worse. It's a tough balancing act, you know? But I could also try both and see which is better. Anyway, we are making our second dispenser. The piece palette. So, for the piece palette, we've got these 3 slots, which is fine, except these 3 slots need more information. They need more information. And less information. They actually need both. Yeah, they need both. Because they need more information, because if a piece is going to sit in them, they need to know how high the piece, like where the anchor is for the piece, which I do have in my standard tile. So my standard tile, not you, tile default. My standard real tile has this figurine base, which is a hidden kind of base of a figurine. So I know that when I place a piece, if it moves down towards figurine base, it'll sit properly on the tile, which is totally fine. But maybe have a bunch of those tiles in a transparent box or in a stack off to the side and have the stack shrink with each placed tile. That'd depend on the game, right? Because is there a limited amount of tiles? Or is there not? If there is, you need a nice way of seeing how many you had left. Best way to do that would probably be the gum dispenser idea. With a counter on it. You mean like a bunch? Yeah, like a... But if there was infinite, the stack wouldn't want to shrink with each place tile, right? I quite like the gum dispenser idea, because then if it's infinite, the gum dispenser can just display the infinity sign. to show that it's infinite. Whereas if it's limited, it can have like a rolling counter. We could have like a what do you call it? I don't know what they're called. Like a numeric system, like those locks you get, like the padlock key code things. We could have one of those that counts down how many pieces are available, or how many of that tile are available, and then have it dispense them and reduce it each time, unless there's infinite. In which case it displays the infinity symbol instead. That could be cool. Potentially. Yeah. If the tiles are stacked, one stack of tiles can occlude others. Yeah. True. I'm struggling to understand the relevance. Maybe I'm being slow. Because you've got two different scenarios, right? You've got... You can place as many as you want, or you've only got a certain amount to place. The question is, how do you have a unified design that allows for both scenarios? That's where it gets a little bit sketchy. Only a little bit, though. Like, you could do it even here. If you went with my... Oh, I see! I see what you're saying. Yeah. So you're saying you'd have multiple stacks, and then when the main stack finished, you might move another stack. You might like slide another stack over to the main stack. But there'd always be a position where you could add another stack. All stealthy like. So it'd look like infinite stacks. Or it would be effectively infinite stacks. I think that's what you're saying. But then you'd still need a counter, because no one's gonna... If you've only got a certain amount, you want to know how many you've got, right? So I was thinking... What if... Alongside each of these... So you could go with my... There's a hole in this, and underneath it, a new one pops out. Or just the respawning idea. You could go with either one. And then you could have a counter below each one, showing how many you've got. That's another option. But anyway, that's not the problem we're here to solve. Currently. But it is worth thinking about. I think as long as it can either look infinite or look limited and has some sort of a counter would look like a UI element. Yeah, that's okay though. That's okay. As long as it looks like a UI element, or not a UI element, but like a physical piece of the world, that's okay. You know? It's like if you wanted to have a clock. As long as the clock was on a wall, that'd be fine. What wouldn't be okay is a UI element in the top corner of the screen telling you the time. It's that kind of thing. So if you could convince yourself that the object might exist in the world and that that object itself would have a counter on it, I would say fair enough. Yeah, like a hand click counter. Exactly, man. Exactly that. Yeah. As long as it's part of the game world, then I'm okay with it as long as it looks like it would feasibly exist in that world. I think. Because that allows for like cool effects as well. With everything being in the world, you can start doing some pretty cool stuff, I think. Maybe. Secrets and stuff. So, piece palette. These guys need another transform. They need the figurine base, is what they need. Each one of them needs the figurine base. Which means I didn't really want to reuse this, but I can strip everything out, I think. I can strip out the tile view. So let's kill these 3 slots on the piece palette. And we'll put in 3 new slots. Is that? That's too big, right? Yeah, that's the size it was. Cool. Oh, we're going to have to rotate it. That's fine, though. I hate doing this crap. Figuring out the right angle. I guess I could just look at the other one. To work out what the angle is. What's your angle? 21.681. Let's go with 21.7. Yeah, let's go with 21. Let's hope that sits flush, which it looks like it does. There's probably a subtle drift, but yeah, there is. God damn it. Fine. Is there not a function to make it flush to another face? If there is, I don't know it. If there is, I don't know it. It's fine, you can usually eyeball it and then tidy up the values. So like, that looks off a little bit. But you can go like 23.4, 23.5, 23.6, 7, 8, 24.5, 25. That's way too far. This is what I spend a lot of my time doing when I'm doing this modeling crap. I think that's actually the best one. That's close enough. 23. 23 is actually spot on, I think. Cool. So, this guy needs to keep his figurine In fact, he needs to be... Yeah, he can keep both of those, I think. Then we want to remove the tile definition. Because he's not a real tile. In fact, let's unpack him. You're not a real tile, dude. You don't get a tile view. You're just a placeholder. And then... That's fine. So we'll call that slot 1. We want 2 more. And this should work really nicely. Slot 2. And slot 3. Cool. I want to change that to just be wood, I think. I think I just want it to be wood for these. Yeah. Then that's cool. And then in piece palette, I do actually need to make a piece palette script. Yeah, I do. I was just debating whether I needed to, but I do. So, where are you? Piece palette. Tile palette. Here it is. Tile palette view. Do I even use palette choice state anymore? I don't. I got rid of it. Cool. So, we're going to make another one of these. And it's going to be for pieces, which means it'll be subtly different. Going to be a mono behavior. I know what you'll be thinking. Why don't you just copy and paste it? Because copy and paste is the devil's work. We need the piece registry, which I've already made. I use that for other stuff, so that's cool. We need the selection context. That tells us what's selected, and then it's got an event that you can subscribe to that tells you when the selected thing has changed. So we need that. And we need a list of available slot transforms, just like the other one. So that's just a list of transforms. Now, if there is any commonality here, I'll put it in a base class. But for now, we're just going to do them separately and then see if there is any commonality instead of over-engineering, as it were. And then we need a dictionary of piece type to piece palette choice view, which I haven't made yet. And that is also going to be choice views by piece type. So I guess I should make the piece palette choice view. That's really simple though. The piece palette choice view is like super basic. It just has what kind of piece it is. But it does inherit base view, which has a lot of complicated stuff in it. That's fine. Move that out again. I said let's move that out again. Thank you. What's he bitching about? Nothing. Good. Okay, cool. I probably am going to copy paste the awake function. Because it's exactly the same. How do you move the cursor without the mouse? with the keyboard, man. How else would you do it? I'm not even that efficient at it, really. You should use, like, control left, right to skip words at a time. But I can never be bothered with that. Is that? Oh, that's transforms. So if there's no slots, it's useless. Now here, is that going to be fine? I think so. Can't remember how get components in children works. Whether it's... We'll just test it. We'll just test it, it's fine. So then, the only thing... Yeah, we need to subscribe. That's right. Get out of here, Rebuild. We'll bring you back later. So then, when it's enabled, we need to subscribe to selection changed. And it passes through the old selection and the new selection. And then we'll worry about what that actually does once we've done the rest of it. And yes, I am just going to use this other one for reference for most of it. You thought I was highlighting the text with the keyboard? No, I was. I definitely was. It does auto-highlight some stuff, but that's fake highlighting. That's just to show you, like, this is this. Just shift in the direction, man. Or shift control in the direction if you want to highlight an entire word. Or shift end if you want the entire line. Or if you're at the end of the line, shift home. Whoops. Shift home. It's just the same stuff, but you hold down shift. Or shift page up if you want a page up's worth. It's not as useful. And that'll work in anything, man. Anything. It's super OP. F using the mouse. If I had to use the mouse every time I wanted to write something, I'd go crazy. You can also do Control D to duplicate a line. That isn't true everywhere. Sadly. Much to my chagrin. I wish it was. Yeah, so we need to do this next. We need to make that rebuild function. And in rebuild, we want to go through each, not each slot, we want to go through each type. Piece types equals this dot piece registry dot get types, which I haven't implemented. You need to be a numerable of piece type. And you probably can be internal, but who cares? Not like I'm sharing this code with anyone. So I guess there's all types, although actually what we want is an override for this that says get types with single sockets. We can do this for now. So we want all the ones where the value count is 1. So it's only got 1 footprint. And then we want those keys. So that means we're not going to have to worry about multiple socket pieces trying to display themselves on this view when we know that this view only supports single socket pieces, and then we'll worry about the multi-socket pieces later. So that's cool. So then in here, we want only the single socket pieces. So for every piece type, we want to create an instance. And that will be this piece registry get piece view. No, we don't want the view. We want the piece palette choice view, which I haven't created yet for pieces, which means my piece definition, as well as having piece views and coordinates, needs to have a piece palette choice view. Let's call that the palette choice view. And then the registry, when it's generating everything, needs to also generate the choice view. By piece type, so we can look it up. Add it in. Cool. And then we need a function. Doing that. Whoops. Get palette choice view. Alex says, for the multi-socket pieces, you could have a deck with pre-built sockets and have each piece on it. Larger pieces would be visibly different from smaller ones. Yeah. So like hang on. Let's finish this train of thought first. But I think I get what you're saying, and I think it might be a good idea. So we want to get the palette choice view for the type and instantiate it, and the parent should be, we need a counter. Yeah, yeah. So it could be like if you imagine it as like a well, the way I instinctively imagine it is like a briefcase, right? And you open the briefcase, and inside there's a bunch of sockets, just in a row, just a bunch of sockets. And then the pieces are placed into those sockets, regardless, because anything can fit in there because it's just a mass of sockets. Then you would just have all your pieces in this mystical briefcase. And then you could open the briefcase, select a piece, and put it on the deck. But I think I get what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're saying deck, I'm thinking briefcase. But it's the same conceptual thing, I think. I don't know why I think briefcase. Probably because of like how people carry around their Warhammer pieces in those briefcases, but they don't really have the sockets. But that's what it made me think of. I think I get what you're saying, and I think I like it. But we're going to finish this first. So then we want the slot at slot counter. And then we want to initialize the piece instance. And we want to I feel like there's something else we want to do to the piece instance. We want to set its piece type. I think that might be it. I could just scroll down and see what we do on the tile. Yeah. That's what we want to do. And then the rest of this stuff is kind of stuff that's tile specific, except we do want this. Yoink. We definitely want this. And that would be not enough slots for all pieces. Eek. And then we want to add it to the dictionary. This dot choice views by piece type. And that's so that we can look them up for selection, which is why we didn't implement selection yet. Because here we want to say if old selection entity type equals palette piece. So if the old selection was a palette piece, then we want to get the type of piece it was. And then we want to get the instance, the view, so that'll give us the view, and then we want to say piece view set is selected false. So we want to unselect the piece view if the old was a piece, because that means it's not selected anymore. And then if the new selection is a piece, we want to do the reverse, right? So we still want to get this stuff, except it'd be new selection piece type. And we want to set it to be selected. Cool. And then here, we just want to do that rebuild. And that might, just might, be everything except for one thing. So, let's see if it is. So you're not a tile palette, you're a piece palette, so let's remove that. And let's add... Where the hell is my... Oh, I need to put it in its own folder, in its own file. Cool. So it's piece palette view. We need to give it the piece registry, which is here. We'll need to give it the selection context, but we can't do that as a prefab. We need to add the 3 transforms. But this time, instead of them being the slots themselves, they want to be the figurine base within the slots themselves. I'll tidy that up one day, maybe. Then we need to go through my pieces, and we need to update the piece definition because we added this piece palette choice view. And for that, I think I need to... I think I've been too devious. Have I been too devious with my piece king? I think I might have been. And this is back when I was trying to be overly clever. So I've got a piece, and you can set the prefab for the piece. But that's too much work for that to be doing. You shouldn't be doing all that work. So I think we need to move that functionality out of the piece view, because we're going to need it where we are as well. I mean, it is good functionality, don't get me wrong. But you see how piece view is doing all this crap? It shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be. So we need to make a... what would we call it? What would we call it? It needs to be like a super basic script. Like, piece model appearance. Sure. We can rename it later. I think I'm actually quite happy with that as a name. So then that needs all of these. Why did I add a bool for whether I want to render the base? I'll always want to render the base. No, we don't always want to render the base. Okay, cool. Let's move that out. We might just have totally broken everything temporarily, but that's okay. So instead of doing that on start, we should do that on awake. Yeah. I might not actually want to do that here. I may very well not want to do that here. But it's fine for now. We can certainly test it out. So, let's move him into his own file. Cool. Then we need to go into piece, and as well as figurine base, or instead of figurine base, maybe figurine base. Every model is going to need a figurine base, right? So do I just make figurine base have this logic? I think I do. Yeah, we just give figurine base this script. Piece model appearance. Sure. And we give it itself. It's kind of pointless, but whatever. We can fix that in the future. Scale should be 1 by default, and then offset can be whatever. Now, piece is fine. Piece definition. So the palette choice view now becomes... Well, I need to fix him first. So you've got a figurine base, and your prefab is the king. I really feel like I've just broken my entire piece setup. But I also think it's fine. We'll see which one wins out. So that's cool. But then we also need a... where are you? Create prefab variant called King Choice, King Palette Choice View. Sure, we'll put that in King. And King Palette Choice View just needs to know, by the way, that is the king. I do wonder if this is going to work. And then the piece definition for the king, we say here, have that choice view. Did I not? You know, in a lot of ways, I feel like I overly complicated the piece side of things early on, which is now making this a pain in the ass. A piece definition needs a piece palette choice view. Have I even made one of those? No. Okay. A piece palette choice view needs to have a figurine base. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then piece palette choice view has piece palette choice view. Cool. We're getting there. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. Let's just set these animation curves. So you're the default. That's fine. You don't have transforms. That's fine. Your layer needs to be palette with your children. And that is cool. I think I might be able to move this stuff around. For now, we finally have our piece palette choice view. Huzzah. And then we need variants of that, right? And I'm hoping adding a new piece doesn't become a massive pain in the ass. If it does, I'll have to rewrite this entire piece system. I wrote it back in the day before I'd figured out piece palettes, piece registries, all that stuff. Yeah. So let's call this the King palette choice view. Let's move it into the King. What are you? Why do you exist? You're not the King palette choice view. You're the King figurine. Yeah, you're the King figurine. Sneaky, sneaky guy. Cool. Now we can move him in there. And finally, the King palette choice views figurine base. This is awkward, and I am going to come up with a nicer way to do this. Needs King. As long as it works for a prototype, though, it's fine. I'm basically treating anything I do on stream as being temporary dog shit. And then when I'm not streaming, I'll go back and tidy it up, is my philosophy. Anyway, he can get out of there. So now we've got a King palette choice view, which we can hook up. Good. He's only got a single footprint. Good. He's set to King. Good. His layers palette. Good. And then piece King. Did I update you? Yes. Good. Right, and then the piece registry. The piece registry. I think we just remove the other ones except King for now. Because King's the only one I've done. So, let's see what happens if we add a piece palette to the board. What do we expect to happen? The slot on the left should contain a king. Whatever. Maybe it does contain a king. Hang on. It does not contain a king. Why? Oh, I should look at my errors. Yeah. Okay. So we added this guy to the scene, but we didn't actually give him the selection context. And then it's complaining about this being an awake, which is totally reasonable. I am going to have to tidy this up post-stream, but if figurine prefab equals null, just do nothing. It should throw a warning, but... Huh? Huh? We have our king! We also have a null reference exception. Because... Why? Am I not setting... Am I not creating choice views by piece type? No, I'm not. Well, that would explain it. That would definitely explain it. Cool. Maybe now? Maybe we can select the king? Who, for some reason, isn't rotated properly? King, why aren't you rotated properly? Tile collider without tile view parent. That implies... it implies that this guy... Yeah. Okay. These need to be on the palette layer. So there's a slight problem there in that his rotation isn't correct, but... I did those outside the editor. There we go. Palette collider without tile palette choice parent. Is that true? Yes. That is true. That is definitely true. It's because... I need to... Let's just YOLO it for now. I'll fix it later. That can be parent palette view. And we can do the same thing for children. Cool. And then that needs to be get component in children. And that might be fine. Might not be. Could go either way. Look, I really thought you were going to find... Tile palette choice! Tile palette choice. Tile. It's only looking for tiles. Ugh, there is no God. Okay. This needs to be parent piece palette view. That needs to be piece palette. That needs to be piece palette. And this needs to be child piece palette view. And then let's just replace these. That needs to be piece type. That needs to be piece palette choice clicked. Which I haven't created yet. That's fine. Oh, I hate doing that crap. That's the problem with these devious shortcuts. Sometimes they go a bit crazy. Right, cool. Let's rename these. Child tile palette view. Parent tile palette view. Cool. So then tile palette choice clicked, piece palette choice clicked. So now I just need to create piece palette choice clicked, which is an action with a piece type. I hate my input controller. It's one of the things I want to rewrite. It's like the only thing that I haven't tried to make good is my input controller. It's a real piece of shit. That's okay though. Then the interaction controller needs to register to that event. And it needs to unregister from it on disable. And we'll yoink this, and we'll move it up to the other one, because it probably does the same thing. Yeah. So, if the selection context is selected something, so if anything is selected, clear the currently selected thing. And then we can say we've selected this type of piece on the palette. And now, in theory being the wonderful thing that it is, that king is finally going to hover when we select him. Theory is a wonderful thing. It is a wonderful thing. It's a shame when it doesn't fucking work. You do have a collider. Your layer is default. Your layer is default, huh? Interesting. Well, we can solve that easily enough. I don't think that's the problem, but we can definitely solve it. There we go. But why is it not capturing that I've clicked on him? Oh, there we go. That's what was missing, sort of. So we can select the king now. That's fine. It is throwing errors. Probably because there's actually too much stuff now that is palette layer. Like, I don't think he should be palette. I think he should be default. But his children should be palette. I think he should be default as well. But his children should be palette. And then it's these guys as well. These three should not be palette. Although, for UI, they probably should be. But I'll solve that later. Let's make them default. Why? Everything that's palette should now... Oh, I see. I get it, I get it. This is super hacky. And I wouldn't have it any other way. For now. See how my standards drop when I'm frickin' streaming? It's terrible. It's actually terrible. Da 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 da. I don't really need that found equals true now that I'm thinking about it. Just move all these up here. It's still hacky, but I'll solve that later by changing the entire way pieces work. There we go, that's mildly better. Right, that was an ordeal. We can finally select a stupid king. Even if he is rotated wrong, which... I don't really understand. He shouldn't be rotated wrong. He should be scaled as well. Currently he's massive. Why is he not scaled? Why are you not scaled, my friend? Why are you not scaled? Oh. Yeah, that probably makes sense. You're supposed to be 0.3. Cool. He's still going to be that weird angle, which we need to sort out. But that's just a parenting problem. I think. Why are you still massive? Why are you still massive? You're really not supposed to be. And why are you such a weird angle? Because I'm using quaternion identity. Let's just kill these two. And the parent should be figurine base. Dot transform. Yeah. And then you would think, I would think, that he would scale correctly because of this line. I should be scaled correctly. Let's just check it is actually getting there. I should be scaled correctly. Yeah, that's what I thought. At least his rotation's fixed now. That's good. But I'm pretty damn sure he's supposed to be smaller than that. Pretty damn sure. Because his scale is set to 1, and it should be 1 times scale. And scale comes from the model appearance. Which is set to 1. But why is it set to 1? Why? Didn't I explicitly set it not to be 1 here? Yeah. Oh, but you know what? Yeah, I really need to tidy this up. That's fine. I will be rewriting that entire piecing. There we go. Now he's the real size. I know he's tiny, but that is the size I expected him to be. He could probably be a bit bigger. Cool. Well, that's getting somewhere. Something quite satisfying about placing these tiles. Now, I don't think I've hooked this up. Yeah, I haven't. That's the next thing to do. So let's do that. So, now in the interaction controller, previously when I wanted to spawn a piece, I just used shift click. And shift click was lame. Is lame. What we really want to say is when the board is clicked, if the selection is a palette piece, we get the piece type. Then, on the board controller, we place a piece with a new place piece request. The coordinate is which grid square was clicked. The piece type is the piece type that's selected. And the direction is just the bottom for now. That's fine. And then we return. Cool. So that will let us place a piece on the grid. Is it going to work? Yeah, but not in the way you might expect. So let's put down a tile, grab the king, place him. Place him. Place him! Place him? Okay, it turns out it's not going to work. Which might be what you expected. So it doesn't work because, let's see, we're placing the piece. There's no error coming back, which means the piece should be being placed. Also, let's get rid of this warning. It's pissing me off. So let's go through the chain, right? We place a piece. That sends out a place request saying, I want to place this. So let's add a log. Interaction controller trying to place piece. Step 1, does it hit that? No. No, it does not. Also, let's get rid of that now. So why doesn't it hit that? We are clicking... Yeah. Yeah. That's correct. We know it's getting selected. So why, when we click the board... Why would it work for you, but not you? That should be fine. Right, I don't want to put asserts in there. That should be fine, though. But yeah, we know it's not reaching here, so of course this is going to work. So why isn't it reaching here? We know we've got a selected piece. We know we're clicking the board. Why? Why would that be the case? We select a piece when a piece is clicked. We know that's true because the piece starts hovering, right? And the piece starts hovering because this guy is listening to selection changed and is hovering the piece when it's selected. So that means we know that it's getting clicked. Now, granted, I'm looking in the wrong class, but the same should be true for piece palette view. Yeah. When the selection changes, if we've selected a palette piece, it's selected. So we know that the piece is selected. We know it is because it's floating. That means it's selected. So when we click the board, I'm such an idiot. When we click the board, it shouldn't be when we click the board. It should be when we click a tile, right? Handle tile clicked. If we've got a piece selected, we move the piece. If we've got a tile selected, we deselect the tile. If the tile has a piece, we select the piece. If nothing is selected, we select the tile. And then coordinate should be the tile's location. Oh, we've cracked the code. I've cracked the code. You guys haven't done shit. Now it'll work. What a rookie mistake. How would it know which tile to place it on? So now we can hope and pray. Look, I'll be honest. I really expected that to work. Roar! Okay, let's put that debug log back in. I'm pretty sure it is hitting this time. Nice, useful message. Yeah, so this time it is placing the piece. Which means something else is broken. I did break a lot of piece stuff, eh? I did break a lot of piece stuff. Let's check if the board view is getting an update. Handle piece placed. That's tile. Handle piece board event. New piece board event. Let's just check if the view is getting any updates for it. No. Which means... But we know this is getting hit. We know this is getting hit. Which means we are sending a place peace request. If that failed, we would get an error in the logs. That's what this cool action bus of mine does. And it'd have no reason to fail. Not really. It would have no reason to fail. Because we know that place peace works, because I was dropping bridges like there was no tomorrow earlier. In fact, have I still got that code in? Let's try and drop a bridge, see if it's still... Oh, right, I removed the bridge from the dictionary. Silly me. Why are you not placing, you son of a bitch? Why? You were supposed to be the chosen one. Hmm. We know he's getting called. Let's get the result. If result okay. Placing the piece went fine. Otherwise... Why did it fail? Right, it has to give us some information now because we know that method's getting called. Let's hope it gives us some intel. A null ref? What? But... But... That null ref has really thrown me off. So you're telling me that there is no failure, but the result was not okay? But that means... What does that mean? It means it was an unexpected error. But then it should have the exception. There's no scenario here where it returns saying it was okay, but doesn't give you... Or there's no scenario here where it returns saying it's not okay, but doesn't give you information about why. It should always give you information about what went wrong. Frustrating. So we know it failed. And yet, there's no failure. That doesn't make sense. Because the only way it can fail, right? If we go into my action runner, the only way it can fail and return a result that has false here. See that? False, 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 false. That means it hit one of these 4 paths. Now, the most likely one that it hit, considering I've never seen a weird issue like this before, is it probably threw a random exception. But even then, it should throw an unexpected failure. It should give us the exception, and it should tell us what was going on at the time. So why, by all that is holy, why in here we know it's coming in here. Placing the piece failed for some reason. We know it's hitting that, right? We just don't know the reason. And it should be telling us the reason. But it's not telling us the reason, which is really awkward. Yeah. Placing the piece failed for some reason. Okay. But then the failure has nothing in it. Which doesn't make sense, because I spent a lot of time working on this action runner. And it will always return a failure or okay. They're the only 2 options it has. Yeah, that's really the only 2 options it has. I was trying to think of scenarios where it might not do that. But there aren't any. If it succeeds, it calls on success. If it fails, it runs the action failed event. We know it's failing, which means there should definitely be a failure. Let's just test something. Let's see what that does. The only thing I can think that's causing this is all those changes I made to the piece. One of them has royally screwed something. So there is a failure. Okay. So if there's a failure, tell me the action. Tell me the source. I want to know which one of these is not being cool. Tell me the details, even though that's totally not going to do what I wanted to do. Right. Does it have any of that information? Because it should do. It should have it all. Yeah. 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 So, it doesn't have an exception. But the only way it can fail is if there was an exception. Does it have a kind? Maybe the kind will tell us something. Unexpected. Well, yeah, no shit. Thanks a lot. I mean, that is mildly useful. Why would it be an unexpected error? If it's unexpected, right? That means it's this path. Which means it definitely has an exception, because that's what causes this path. Did I just never actually set the exception? Am I stupid? No, I did set the exception. I do set the exception. So, why the hell is this returning saying that it doesn't have an exception? We're creating F. We're returning F in the result. I don't see any reason for this to happen. Any reason whatsoever. There should be no world in which this happens. You know what? Just throw the fucking exception. I'll solve that later. I want to see what this exception is. It's doing my head in. Just rethrow it. What? But you should be throwing the exception. Roar! Oh, right, that's after the return. I'm so dumb. There we go. I actually thought I was losing my mind for a second there, but it turns out I was just wrong. Right, this time, give me the exception, please. I just want to see what it is. Object reference not set. Rotate footprint. It doesn't have a footprint. It doesn't have a footprint? Is that really all it was? I mean, first up, it does have a footprint, so I take offense to that. Look, you can see its footprint right here. It's 0, 0. So why does it believe it doesn't have a footprint? Because I didn't set the footprint. Oh, I'm such a turd. We need to pass in the piece registry. Oh, I am. I was just never setting the footprint. Tell you what, though, that has that whole shenanigan has really shown me that my error reporting has a gaping hole in it. So that's good. I can fix that. Although I don't know why that would be happening. It should have swallowed that exception. And we know that it did swallow the exception, right? Because, well, we know that it has the exception because we throw it. Which means that E definitely exists. Which means that when I return F, which we're passing E into, and E is the exception, then we should have access to E's message, and we should have access to E. So it's really weird that we didn't. Something to look into in the future. Now, though, finally, praise the Lord, this might work. It might not work, because I did mess up a lot of stuff in peace. Well, it sort of works. Allocation of 512 bytes. What are you doing in the console log? Why have we got like a million errors? Stop that. That's not even part of my stuff. That's just Unity itself. Okay, let's restart Unity. That was spooky. Was that caused by my error? That'd be a really weird error to be caused. Stack Overflow. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting there to be a Stack Overflow there. There's no reason for there to be one. This is where me tearing apart piece view really might have done us a disservice. We need to look at the board view. See what we do when we place a piece. Well, did that trigger? Yeah. New piece placed, board event. Wow, that Stack Overflow really keeps going, eh? Okay. Make sure we fix it before... well... I was going to say make sure we fix it before we test it again, but... that's not really viable, is it? So, when a piece is placed, this used to work fine. We know that because we were dropping bridges. And the only thing that's changed is... get piece view. The spawn. No, the spawn should be fine. We don't need to set the spawn. There's legitimately no reason for this to be a Stack Overflow unless I did do some weird stuff in the piece. I did pass himself into himself. Which means he's setting himself as... no, that should be fine. It comes in here. It creates the figurine on its own transform. There's... the figurine prefab is the king. Figurine prefab is Peace King. Oh, I'm such a turd. King. No wonder it was getting a Stack Overflow. He's still massive, but I can live with that. Huh? Huh? Cool. Now he's not come in from over there, and he's still massive. That's two problems. One of them is very easy to fix. The not coming from the right position one. That's super easy to fix. For that, we just go into here, and we say you're going to instantiate there, which is fine, but then your position is not going to be the global tile spawn. We need to pass in the piece palette. Cool. Get. I don't think I made that method for it. It's basically the same method I did here. Get choice transform. I need to do that. In the piece palette. There's so much common functionality here. There we go. And then in the view, we steal this. Piece is placed. We get the slot position. And the transform becomes the piece spawn transform. Then the spawn transform becomes the piece spawn transform. Now, he's still going to be massive, probably. But he should at least spawn from the right place. But he should at least spawn from the right place. Have I set local position instead of position? No, that should be fine. I think. Yeah, it really should be fine. Because we get the transform of the choice view. Which we know is there because it's hovering. So that's fine. So we get that transform. We instantiate the prefabaroo, saying, by the way, you live inside this tile socket, which is true. And then we set his transform to be where the choice piece was. So he should definitely spawn where the choice piece was. The question is, why isn't he? And where the hell is he? So let's try and find him. Like, really, where is he? He's not even parented to the tile. Where is he? Is this another example of me being a total turd? Yeah, it is. The board view needs the piece palette. Suddenly it all makes sense. Although I would have expected an error there. Huh? Huh? I mean, it sort of works. He's massive. He's also rotating 180 degrees. But it does mostly work. If you ignore the whole giant side of things. It does mostly work. Mostly is not good enough, but, you know, it's a start. It's definitely a start. Oh, look, he goes home. I never even tested that, but they go home when you delete them. I mean, I did build it that way, but I never actually remembered that I built it that way. You can set a separate despawn target. So there's two questions. One, why is he giant? Two, why is he facing the wrong way? And the answer to both of those questions is... I don't know. But I think it's the same issue with these, right? This crack is on the right-hand side of the tile. Place it. Look, I'll be honest, that was a good test in theory. It's not actually panned out. Okay, the two flaps are on the right. The two flaps are on the right. So, it's working fine for tiles. But the king, for some reason, is rotating 180 degrees when we place him. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, whatever. Not really whatever, though. It shouldn't be happening. Now, the reason he's massive when he's placed is probably because, if I had to guess, he's out of sync. So, you know, that's one problem solved. Now he should stay the same size at least. Then it's just a question of why he flips 180 degrees. Why would he flip 180 degrees? Because I tell him to. Seems like an obvious answer, but it's the correct answer. It's because I tell him to. I explicitly tell him to face in a given direction, which is face the bottom. But when we place him on the thingamajig, we don't worry about facing. So I think all we need to do is in the... Is this going to be true? I think... Where is it? Where is it? It's the... What did I call it? Is it the piece palette choice view? No, you're an odd fellow. It's not you. You live in someone, right? You live in these guys. You. You know, I bet if we slap a 180 on there and then just don't worry about it. That is the most hacky solution of all time, but I wouldn't worry yourselves over it. I'm going to rewrite the entire piece thing because I don't like that there was issues. Still, we've at least got parity with the tiles now, right? Sweet, sweet parity with the tiles. That's pretty cool. That means... Well, we've got parity for single socket pieces. We still need a way to put down stuff like the bridge. We need some way of displaying those. That's where it gets interesting. But this is pretty cool for like the one tile pieces. I think it's pretty rad. It's good as well because it means I can prototype a lot more single socket objects. We really want 4 of them. We want 4 tiles and 4 single socket objects so that we can figure out what we're going to do about when there's too many for the shelf. So that's pretty cool. Then we'll need to figure out what we do about the other stuff. But I think the drawer idea that Alex had is pretty good. Potentially. It might get weird depending on what everything's footprint is like. But it might be the best option we have. We'll see on that one. I'm pretty happy with that, though, for sure. For super sure. Whee! Good to tidy up after yourself. Cool. Right, that's nice. And I think we're going to call it a day there. Nice little short stream. A little bit of deving. Kind of wanted to show you guys what I'm working on. Make a little bit of progress that I'll have to rewrite, because that's just how it works when I code on stream. Good progress, though, I think. And I am going to go and watch a movie or something. So, hope you guys found that interesting. Hope you enjoy the rest of your nights. And I will catch you later. Adios.